Hey guys, just a heads up, there is a little bit of horror gore in this episode. It's not a lot, but it's enough that you may want to just be warned. Thanks and enjoy the show.
Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband-wife team go over all the world building, storytelling, and characters in video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 66.
Double digits, matching digits. Those who are into numerology can be more excited than I am.
My brain glitched when you mentioned numerology, sorry. Before we get into the show, if you'd like to contact us, you can do that over on Twitter and Instagram at LoreTogether, through email at loretogether@gmail.com. And if you like this podcast, we hope you do, there's two things you can do to help us with this. One, give us a 5-star review wherever you can. We know Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as Podchaser and other things all allow you to rate. Helps us a big deal. And if you want to support this podcast monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon at patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to episodes as well as other bonus content.
Bonus content including Mystic playing through a kind of soft RP Skyrim playthrough.
Which I have recorded episode 5, but I haven't posted it yet.
Yes. As well as other extra bonus episodes that will continue when we are not in Gen Con prep.
Yeah, that's sucking up a lot of time.
If you're going to be at Gen Con, maybe we'll see you there, maybe not. We don't show our faces, so I don't know how you know we're there.
Someday, maybe.
Someday. I feel like it could happen someday.
Yeah.
But you know what? Just if you're going to be there, let us know. Maybe we'll say hi.
Yep.
Otherwise, Mystic, I don't know what you're doing, and you lost sleep over the script. So,
well, I full disclosure, the games I had planned on doing was just too convoluted and way too much of an info dump. It would have been 1,000 names, and it would have been really chunky.
Okay.
So last minute, I scrapped the whole episode and wrote a new script for a totally different game. Totally different genre.
Well, I'm going to hope that it was worth it. I'm sure it was. You're a scrutinizing person when it comes to the show.
Yeah. So this is a 2021 game by the developer Modern Storyteller.
All these modern games, we have been sticking into the last, not even 10 years. I'd say the last 5 years or so for the last few episodes we've done.
And this game was originally a mod for Skyrim released in 2015.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. As a mod, it got Mod of the Month on Nexus Mods.
Cool.
And was nominated for Mod of the Year on ModDB. It also won as a mod, it also won the Australian Writers Guild Award for Best Interactive Media.
Are we talking No, we're not talking about what I think. No, my first thing went to the Inigo mod that we used in our...
As much as I love Inigo, I don't think he's won a writing award for it yet. He should.
Yeah, there's a lot of work in that.
But the mod's also not done yet, so...
Well, that's the problem with a lot of mods is that they're never done, right? Most mods, I feel like, either it's a one or done thing because somebody wanted to see if they could do something.
Or it's Skyblivion.
Yes, where it's never done. It's absolutely never done. You know.
As a final game, I haven't even told you the name of the game yet. As a final game, we have a win for Excellence in Narrative, nominations for Game of the Year, Best Debut Indie Game, an Outstanding Achievement in Story, and appearances on over 50 Game of the Year lists, whether nominee or winner.
Wow.
So the name of this game is The Forgotten City.
You know, interesting. I haven't heard of this at all whatsoever.
And all those awards go to a 3-person team. I mean, not including voice actors and stuff.
Wow. So 3 people got together, made a mod.
No, one guy made the mod. And then got 2 more people we're going to make a game.
Wow. So I'm assuming this is a strict fantasy setting situation we've got going on here.
Yes-ish.
Okay.
So the developers do have a favor to ask of content creators, those on YouTube, and of course we also fall under that label.
Okay.
They simply ask that we give you a spoiler warning.
We are happy to give spoiler warnings.
Yes.
We actually originally toyed with the idea of calling this podcast Spoilers. Because,
but alas, we are Lore Together.
Yeah, we are Lore Together. No, I think that's fair because there's some stuff we've done that aren't complete spoilers.
True.
Don't ruin it. But that is kind of what we do in the show. So.
But we are going to be discussing a game that has a ton of work in the characters. There's a lot of branching paths. I mean, the main events all kind of hit the same thing, but the order in which you do things can change.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not even going to touch on most characters. So,
and again, this is a medium to celebrate a video game. So we're not going to do a play-by-play, this is the best playthrough version of The Forgotten City. We're going to talk about what makes the writing part of it so exciting.
Yeah, you guys know the drill by now. So, we awaken on the banks of the Tiber River somewhere in Italy.
Oh, so we're in the real world.
We were floating down the river and were rescued by a woman named Karen.
Interesting name choice.
You can actually comment on like the Karen meme, quote unquote.
Oh.
Yeah. She asked us who we are as she went through our pockets looking for an ID or phone, and all she found was some loose change. This is our way to kind of create a character, picking our gender, skin, and class.
Nice. Okay.
We have no idea how we got there, but she has a request for us. Find her friend, Al.
Wait, she sees us in a distraught state of some sort. Like, we don't even have our wallet on us, and she's going to ask us to do her a favor?
Yeah. So who's Al, you might be wondering? Al was another guy who was floating down the river before us.
I'm sorry. What? Is this a thing that just happens on this river?
After he awoke, he headed into the ruins that are behind us, and she hasn't seen him since. She can't go in because she promised him she would not leave this spot.
Oh, why? What? Is she watching his cat or something?
No, but she also has a boat that'll get us back to civilization if we can find him.
Okay. Now, is this present day?
Yes?
Okay. Timeless kind of thing going on here.
So into the ruins we go. It's kind of like a ham-fisted way I feel at the beginning, and it feels a little clunky, but most games also feel a little clunky in how you get started. It's the equivalent of you all meet in a tavern,
Okay. Side note, I ran a game where we played through how all the characters meet.
You did.
You were in it, Mystic.
It took us 4 sessions to actually become a party.
Yes.
And even then, my character still hated everybody else.
We decided when we're doing our new campaign now that we were not going to do that part.
Now my character only hates one other person so far.
It's just so much easier to just have the background already built in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little clunky, but let's just go with it right now.
So into the ruins we go. It's a fairly linear path at this point. We're following a winding stream through a cave. These are Roman ruins.
Okay.
And we have basically some, basic tutorial stuff, how to raise and lower our flashlight, stuff like that. Eventually we come to a small domed building. On the stairs outside is a backpack. We can't really investigate it beyond like turning it around and stuff. We can't go through it. But it's odd that Al would have left it here. And taped to the door is a note.
Oh.
The note reads, "If you're reading this, it means I've discovered the entrance to an ancient Roman city hidden deep underground. Its existence is long forgotten. All knowledge of it is lost, except for the Latin inscription here. It reads, 'You who wish to enter the city, step forth and be judged. The virtuous shall be rewarded with eternal life in paradise. The wicked shall find themselves showered in gold, but in vain, for this shall be their final resting place.' Could an underground city have remained a secret for all the time? Could people have survived down there against the odds? It seems there's only one way to find out. If I'm not back in an hour, I'm somewhere on the other side. Consider this an invitation. Or warning. Al Worth."
Al, his last name's Worth?
Yeah.
So was it all worth it?
Oh, God. You're not supposed to be doing puns.
If you put them right there in the text, I can't just ignore it?
Opening the door and walking in, we fall through the floor.
Yeah, very Alice of Wonderland-esque going on
and
here.
end up landing in a pool of water at the bottom. This isn't a natural pool. It's more like a bath. In fact, it's exactly like a ruined Roman bath.
Ooh, so stone square. Okay.
Yeah.
Funny story around Father's Day. They were advertising, get coupons to the ancient Roman baths. Like, apparently they're trying to make bathhouses a thing again.
Over the door out of the room is a plaque in Latin which translates to, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one."
Ooh. Interesting.
Through the door are stairs leading up with some Latin graffiti which translates to, "Always remember, they're watching."
Okay. Well, I mean, considering that this whole thing is about judgment, yeah, you have to assume that something is watching you.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting to note there are 4 character classes you can pick from: archaeologist, soldier, as well as 2 other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. But only the archaeologist can actually read these by default. Everyone else is kind of like blanking on it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, because it makes sense the archaeologists would know Latin, but
Right.
the rest of them, unless...
Yeah, but the soldier does get a gun.
Yay.
And the other 2, one moves faster and one can take more hits from the enemies.
Okay, so one basically has higher con and the other one has a higher dex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Continuing up the stairs, we enter a hallway lined with golden statues.
Okay.
We then reach a more shallow bath with more statues, including one of a woman in a pose of lamentation. Continuing on, we walk through another set of hallways, more statues. Basically, there's a lot of statues in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is a gladiator running from something.
Oh.
Yeah. Through all this, when we're walking around, we hear voices asking us why are we there and asking if we can hear them. There's no way to know where the voice comes from. It's always the same voice, too.
Is there anybody out there?
Passing through a door, we finally enter more of the city proper. Basically, like we exit out of the baths into a large area.
And it's a parade, and suddenly you're dancing, and now it's the Roman version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Woo!
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to
Where did
offer
that come
that.
from?
I don't know. I just had to offer that idea up.
We find a statue of a woman begging for her life.
Oh.
And later on, another of a Roman military commander attempting to scramble away from something. Things are decidedly weird, and continuing on, we find a somewhat distressing sight. A statue of a man in modern dress hung from a noose.
Whoa. So the idea is that something or someone felt the need to represent these, in a permanent, semi-permanent fixture. So why are we essentially highlighting tragic experiences possibly that happened in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my question, is why is the tragedy what's being celebrated? When you think of statues, especially in the Roman, I think it's celebrating people of power and moments of triumph.
Yeah.
Or great mythological characters. This is a very twisted idea of like we are going to be highlighting suffering and pain and death.
Now, there are things I'm leaving out of this explanation for people who want to play it a little bit more blind, as well as for Safi not to have some thematic elements spoiled.
Oh, okay.
So you would probably not be thinking that while playing this.
Huh.
But it makes sense that you're drawing that conclusion now.
Well, yeah. As the thinky hat person, when you're describing this, you're analyzing the text. It's kind of like, it just reminds me of when I did the 1v1 interview with Celeste for Boss Rush podcast. She asked if I was an English major. I was like, no, but I was a drama major, and it's a lot of the same idea, right?
Yeah.
You're drawing from the text, which in this case is the video game and the images in the game, what the meaning and the themes are, and this seems like this is a game that's...
And I'm intentionally keeping stuff from you on this one.
Which is fair. But it seems like, though, the game is very intentionally making choices, too.
Yes.
Okay.
So near this hung man in modern clothes is a tablet with a note carved on it. To whoever reads this, I'm sorry you had to find me like this, and worse that you'll suffer the same fate I did. I spent a lifetime in this place, going around and around in circles, searching for a way out, but the inscription was right. There is no way back. In here, there are only two options: death or that godforsaken door to the past.
Whoa.
I made the mistake of stepping through it. I wanted to set things right, and I tried. I really tried. But whenever I did, it took me right back to the beginning. Don't make the same mistake. Better to end it now than find out what awaits you beyond that portal. Al Worth.
So but you said it was a statue, but it's a statue of a hung man,
That's how it appears, yeah.
but it seems to be actually himself having ended his life.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
We have no choice but to continue on, and we will eventually find a portal with a skeleton in front of it.
Okay, that's the first thing that looks naturally biologically about death, not just a
Right.
version of it.
Stepping through the portal, we arrive in a bright and now no longer ruined Roman city. We exit what we will come to know is the shrine of Proserpina and come across a fellow named Galerius.
Galerius, okay.
We have a chat. Turns out that we're in the past. If you play an archaeologist, you'll find out it's about 65 CE.
Oh, wow, okay.
And to my enjoyment while playing this blind for our patrons, I was very happy to find out that Galerius had no idea what CE means because he wouldn't even know what BC or AD means.
Right.
So
exactly. There hasn't been as much importance on the birth of...
Right.
Yes.
Eventually he'll tell us to follow the rules, though he's vague on what the rules are exactly. He'll offer to take us to the magistrate to introduce us and give us a little tour as we go.
Okay, fine, sure.
Small nitpick here from my time playing. Why is it my character moves faster than Galerius even while crouching? Why is this a thing in so many games? Give me the option to walk and make it the same walking speed as everyone else.
Yeah, I will say that was a nice thing when we did the playthrough of Control, the last game we covered, so episode 65.
You had a walk toggle.
You could a walk toggle. And especially if you're trying to do something atmospheric, it's nice to have.
One stupid trend that's recent that it does buck, though, there are save profiles here.
Yay!
More games need save profiles. None of this one save slot stuff. I am sick of it. I am losing so much of my gameplay when Safi plays for our streams.
So this specifically also came up in the last game we covered, Control. Yes. So, yeah, it's on our minds.
And before you at me, yes, I know I can just back up my save files to a different directory. It shouldn't be necessary is my point.
Yeah, I remember Skyrim, you had to put in a mod so that way I could access different save profiles more easily.
More easily, but they were still there.
Yes.
It was just, yeah. So.
Yeah, it was just a little complicated. I hate that there has to be mods for things like this. I feel like just even two. Just give me two or three different save profiles.
Right.
That's all you need.
So we eventually get to a guard who tells Galerius to get back to his farming, and we're taken to the magistrate who is named Sentius.
Yeah, that sounds period appropriate.
The basics here are, according to him at least, that this is a place with no sin. Because if any one person sins, everyone dies and are turned into golden statues. They call this the Golden Rule.
Okay, but what's considered a sin?
Good luck figuring that out.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, they're kind of vague on it.
Yeah, that's bad.
Now, Sentius is the first to not 100% balk at the idea that we're from the future.
Oh, that's nice.
Claiming that we are here because someone broke the law and it is therefore the final day of the city.
Oh.
Or someone is about to break the law. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The goddess Proserpina has therefore sent us at his behest to find the person who broke the Golden Rule. Because Sentius uses a ritual, one which calls for his own life to end, to create the portal which brings us to the last day. So basically, he's going to do a ritual that creates the portal that we go through to get here.
Okay. So he knows he knows it's because he has to do the ritual.
Right.
So, oh, okay.
The only way for us to get home is to find the sinner, which means Sentius will not need to do the ritual and therefore not create the portal, so we never get to the city. Basically, our only way out of this is to force a time paradox.
Oh, that's just... Ugh. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I'm more of an alternate universe person when it comes to time travel theory.
But it works.
Yeah. I understand. I understand what the game's trying to do. So we have to essentially prevent the city from any and find the sinner.
Yeah.
Wait. But if everybody who sins becomes a statue of gold, so that's not an instantaneous process.
It's not. We'll get to what happens in a minute here.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So, however, this does mean that if we screw up in any way or break the rules ourselves,
yeah,
we just have to get back to the portal and restart the day. We kind of have an out to kind of go through a time loop.
Okay. And
we still have all our possessions and information as we go.
Mm-hmm.
So, off we go to investigate. Just to reiterate, massive spoilers from here, as we'll be discussing a path through the game. Up until this point, it's kind of the tutorial and the intro.
Right.
So after this, we're kind of following the main events. There's a lot of other side quests and stuff you can do. There's a bunch of replay value if you want to talk to everybody. And every single person has their own histories and personalities.
Okay.
For instance, eventually we run across a young woman named Fabia.
Okay.
She quite possibly is the most optimistic person in the city, someone who truly finds the good of being here, telling us that there are far worse places in the world to live.
Okay.
Prior to arriving in the city, Fabia was living with her family in Rome. Her father had arranged a marriage for her with a fisherman's son. Before she met him, however, she came down with a terrible fever. Her father paid priests to sacrifice first a rooster, then a goat to Asclepius, god of medicine. But it did little good. Deciding the clear air of the countryside might do her good, her family sent her alone on a carriage down the Appian Way. A day into her journey, her condition worsened, and after falling asleep for a bit, she woke up in a forest next to a river. Figuring the driver had left her for dead, she went off looking for help, stumbling upon the forest temple and falling through the trapdoor and into the city.
Oh, wow.
Fabia tells us there's an assassin about. She runs into a nearby temple, only for it to collapse upon her.
Wow.
The assassin does show up. He's searching for a traitor to the Empire. He shoots us, which breaks the golden rules.
Oh, no.
All the statues start attacking us and all the residents.
What?
Yeah. There is a bunch of statues. They all start attacking everybody. And as they're shooting people, they're turning into statues.
What the? Oh, my. Okay.
So we have to basically beat it back to the portal. Sentius' skeleton is outside of the temple door as we jump through the portal to arrive back at dawn with Galerius before us again.
Oh, wow.
Galerius is interesting. He is our errand boy.
Mm-hmm.
Give him stuff to complete quests and the info of what to do, and he will gladly run around and take care of any side quest you have already completed the previous loops.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Which is very handy.
Yeah.
This time, when we're across Fabia, though, we can tell her, don't go into the temple. And we can then lie to the assassin, telling him that we saw their target in the temple. When it collapses, kills him, and we can grab his bow.
Okay. So we have to trick somebody to their own death because he was too foolhardy to... Wait, and so when the assassin tries to kill you...
Yes.
That's a sin. But
yes.
The sin is then against everybody in the city?
If anybody sins, then if one person sins at all, according to the whatever rule it is, we'll get there, everybody dies.
Okay.
So, hence for all shall suffer for the sins of the one. So.
Right.
So we can grab his bow, and as soon as we have the wooden bow, Decius will come and chat with us.
Okay.
He is a merchant, as far as I remember. He has a plan to get a golden bow from the Temple of Diana that will allow us to turn objects into gold.
But would that mean stealing something from the temple?
A lot of this is basically a bunch of branching dialogue choices, and if you want to follow a walkthrough of this game,
Yeah.
there is literally pick this, pick this, pick this, pick this, pick this, because you have to go through the dialogue tree
Oh, yeah.
to
Okay.
do it correctly. So, yeah. But essentially, we'll agree to his plan for now, and he'll take the bow and transform it into a fake golden bow. Basically, he'll cover with leaf or whatever.
Yeah.
And he will also unlock the Shrine of Diana for us.
Oh, interesting.
When we swap the bows, Decius will lock the door, not opening until we give him the bow under the door. Basically, like, give me the bow, I'll unlock the door.
Mm-hmm.
We eventually work our way out using some properties of the bow to escape. We're not a walkthrough here, so
Okay.
yeah. But we eventually find our way into a tunnel.
All right.
The tunnel leads, you ready for some horror? The tunnel leads to the palace where we'll be attacked by grotesque, not quite statues.
Uh-oh.
We'll get there in a moment.
Uh-oh.
We can use the bow to turn them to solid gold once more and remove them as a threat.
Interesting.
Within the
Okay.
palace, we can find Navia, the town doctor. He's been experimenting removing the gold from the statues.
Uh-oh.
Guess what? The statues of the people are alive, even thousands of years into the future when we saw them the first time. Navia has fallen in love with one, Galatea. And to try and save her from the statue, he was trying to remove the outer gold shell. Unfortunately, this is not the case. The gold is their skin.
So he's skinning her alive?
And this doesn't kill them, but leaves them all in inexplicable agony.
Oh, this is a horror movie I didn't realize I was walking into.
Leaving this horror show.
Yeah, no, leave it. So, yeah, oh my gosh. And does Galatea even know who he is? She's just gonna wake
Yes,
up.
she's awake.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, or at least responds.
Oh man, and she's in agony.
They're all in agony. This is why this is why they attack you, because they're just like basically they're in so much agony they're in a kind of a zombified state.
But he's still trying to bring.
He's still trying.
Whoa, that's kind of selfish on his part.
Yeah. So leaving this horror show behind, we find our way to the upper cistern, where we find another horror show, kind of.
Oh no.
We find Centilla, the magistrate's daughter.
Okay.
She's basically chained up
Whoa.
in the middle of the cistern. She's been imprisoned here on his orders after she found a way out of the city. Trying to leave the city breaks the golden rule.
So, trying to leave the city breaks the golden rule.
Yep. It is from her that we can discover that Sentius, like us, also retains his memories each time the day is reset.
Oh.
He is basically, long story short, he is basically using the time loop to live forever, and he has no intention of letting us actually close the loop.
Interesting. But so he retains what has happened before in the previous day.
Yeah.
But he doesn't retain any of the knowledge we have. It's just his own knowledge.
Yeah.
So he won't know, in theory, once we talk to his daughter.
Oh, no, he's there.
Oh,
he
really?
discovers us, yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, dear.
Yeah, there's a lot of... I'm blowing past a ton of branches. We've already passed, I think, at this point, 3 alternate endings.
Okay. Fair. All right.
So... It falls on us, then, to close the loop ourselves. We will not be getting any help from the magistrate.
Mm-hmm.
We'll eventually meet a priestess named Equitea.
Okay.
She asks us to speak with the other residents to try and find some common thread that might link them all. She's basically kind of trying to figure things out here.
Mm-hmm.
And we eventually find that nobody truly knows how they got to the entrance of the city on the banks of the Tiber.
Okay. It's a setup as a trap for everybody who ends up in this city.
Yeah. There are some points of commonality in everyone's stories, though. Many just ended up on the side of the river with no memory of how.
So some, like Fabia, have a memory of how, but a lot of them...
She knows what was before. She does not know how she ended up on the side of the river. She fell asleep in a guy's cart, and then she woke up on the side of the river.
Okay. All right. So she's making a leap as to how she got there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone had a stranger by them, more or less.
Yeah.
And many had coins or change on them. Now, if you know your own mythology,
oh, I know
and
exactly
you've been paying
what
attention
this
to everything I've said,
I know what this is. Oh my gosh, mind explode.
you might have some idea of what's happening here, but I'll allow Safi to explain it if she knows what it is.
So, in Roman or Greek mythology, when you die, you don't automatically get to go to the afterlife. First of all, it's not a heaven or hell thing. It's just everybody kind of floats in the same space. And there is a river that you need to cross, but you need to have an exact payment to the boatman who's going to let you cross that river. And of course, back then it was coin. So you have to pay coin to cross the river when you die to get to the afterlife. Otherwise, you stay on the shores of limbo forever, essentially. I forget all the common terms because it's been a while since I've brushed up on my Greek mythology.
Here we go. You are correct. We have coins to pay the ferry across the river Styx.
Yes.
And Karen is Sharon. Or Karen.
Yeah.
Who is the ferryman of the river Styx.
So she is the one who's brought you over, but for whatever reason, you forgot that you paid her to go the way.
Also explains why all the statues stay living the whole time, because we are all, in fact, dead.
Yeah.
Still doesn't explain the whole no sooner everyone dies thing.
Yeah. Well, again, in their afterlife, everybody goes to essentially the same place. There's not these rewards for people who of certain higher caliber or not.
Right. Equitea says we may be able to confront the god of the underworld, Pluto, and try to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
So we head around to find a bunch of plaques to fit to an obelisk, basically a key to a temple type thing. Mm-hmm. These plaques are in 4 different languages: Roman, Greek, Egyptian, and an unknown 4th one.
Bum, bum, bum.
You can actually tell what the 4th one is if you do know your history, but we're going to save that for a little bit later. I knew exactly what it was as soon as I saw the image. I'm like, oh, okay.
Interesting. Okay.
The Roman one with Pluto's name on it is easy to find. It's just out there.
Yeah.
The Greek one with Hades on it, we have to play some dirty politics and blackmail someone running for magistrate. There's an election afoot.
Interesting. Okay.
Then we have to get someone other than Sentius elected magistrate.
All in one day?
Yes.
Huh.
That person lets a simple-minded fellow named Dooley free of a cell Sentius put him in for his own good, since Dooley doesn't understand right from wrong and would probably break the golden rules.
Perfect. Okay.
Dooley heads out of his cell and grabs the first shiny object he sees, triggering the golden rule.
So all of the statues run amok.
So we beat it back to the portal, and on another day, we find the Egyptian plaque with Kabash that cites the city's Egyptian resident. He's taken it into the catacombs. He's more than willing to part with his plaque bearing Osiris's name if we put it where it belongs. However, he also has the 4th plaque.
Oh.
The one with the Sumerian god, Nergal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the plaque, I'm like, that's cuneiform.
It's been a while since I looked at any cuneiform, so I probably wouldn't have gotten it as quickly.
It took me a second, but I was like, oh, Nergal is the Sumerian god of war and death.
Makes sense. War does bring a lot of death.
And I think the game is postulating that Nergal is the precursor to the others.
Oh.
This is very uncomfortable for Kabash. This contradicts everything he knows of his faith and basically makes his faith no different than the Romans and the Greeks stealing his god.
Right.
So I think many people would find this an understandable viewpoint. Most people don't want to acknowledge that most, possibly all, mythology from antiquity to the present day is copied and reworked from previous versions.
Yeah, there's a lot of... it was interesting. You remember when I was basically doing a writing project around a character who was supposed to be Zoroastrian?
Yes.
And there's a lot of postulation that is the original monotheistic worshipping religion. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain to people who have their own monotheistic belief that they evolved from this monotheistic belief.
Right.
People aren't comfortable with that for very understandable reasons.
Yeah, but all you need to do is look at some history, and you can see that Christmas is where it is because it overlapped with pagan holidays. Easter is where it is because it overlaps with pagan holidays. There's no, Jesus wasn't born in December.
But Zoroastrianism, originally Zarathustrianism, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is even much older than that.
Right.
So
no, I know. I'm just offering an example.
But no, I get what you're saying. It's just it kind of is somewhat similar to, maybe because I've been watching some Call of Cthulhu stuff, my brain's going here. But this idea of like these old things that you will never truly understand, but they're kind of these big archetypes in the background shaping everything, and you just never know. And for a lot of people, you think of that as a major conspiracy, but it's kind of this existential threat of what has been the foundation before what is true to you now is really what's true. It's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. I get it, and I'm not here to tell anybody that they need to swallow it, but it makes sense that you can have a crisis. I've had a crisis of faith because of that, personally. So,
and it's a very common trope in especially sci-fi.
Yes.
You can look at Stargate. There's a whole race that look nothing like Vikings, but they're the race that we draw all of our Viking lore from.
Exactly. Exactly. So anyway, but yeah, so this character having this crisis of faith and holding on to this thing, so if he's the only one that has it, it can still be kind of a lie, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to take away anything from him because there's nobody else to counter his worldview with this information that only he has. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
So we do eventually get it from him in a really roundabout way that requires us traveling a bunch of stuff through the lower catacombs and stuff. Eventually we can reason with Kabosh and return all 4 plaques to the obelisk in town. Okay. Only then can we enter the temple doors. Times 4. There's basically 4 sets of doors we have to answer a bunch of riddles at.
Mm-hmm.
Then we come face to face with a man sitting in a spaceship.
Ground control to Major Tom. I'm sorry, that's just where my brain went to.
So you have watched Star Trek. I have watched Star Trek. This is not a uncommon trope at all. This is the god of the underworld. His people came to Earth 3,000 years ago. Most grew bored with the humans and Earth and left to Elysium.
Okay.
His wife, though, grew to care for the humans and forsake her immortality to live among them. His wife is Proserpina. He placed her in suspended animation.
You mean Persephone? Or is that
Proserpina.
Proserpina. Proserpina. The way you said it sounded like Persephone. I was like,
Sorry.
what?
Essentially the same deity, more or less.
Similar enough. Yeah.
He placed her in suspended animation and begged Jupiter to allow her to come to Elysium. Jupiter declined, but then said that if a human city could live without sin for 1 year, that Proserpina and all humanity could come to Elysium.
Wow.
So here's the brunt of everything. The wager itself is flawed. The rule is flawed. The golden rule, as you probably may have guessed by now, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that is the basis for what is a sin. Basically, if you break that rule in a way that they can't do unto you, you've broken the golden rule. So if you kill someone, they can't do unto you. If you steal something and you have nothing for them to steal, they can't do unto you.
That is so pedantic.
Right. Not only do people gravely sin, Sentius has his own daughter in prison and is literally gaming the rule, killing everyone continually so he can have everlasting life. But remember how I said that Dooley had no concept of right or wrong?
Right.
He should not violate the golden rule. He has no intent on actually harming someone. It is a shiny thing he has seen from his cell for so long he just wants to touch it.
I mean, this poor guy has written his own essentially death certificate just because he wanted something beautiful for a brief moment in time. It wasn't hurting anybody.
Right.
It wasn't hurting anybody.
Yeah, so therefore, Dooley should not have caused the golden rule to go into effect, causing a loop, in my opinion.
But this is also coming from a bunch of beliefs where, and I can't speak to Sumerian, and Egyptian is a little different, but when we're talking about the Roman and the Greek gods, they had tempers, they had preferences, they had bickering fights. They were
very human for deities.
They were flawed.
Yeah.
You know, the gods in Egypt were a little bit more even-tempered, but they still had their own rivalries and fights and battles and disagreements.
Right.
And so it makes sense that...
And made a lot of demigods.
Yes. and it makes a lot of sense that they would be the kind of gods that would have this kind of flawed logic.
So you can persuade Pluto that the wager is flawed through a couple different ways. We're not going to get into how. Figure that out yourself.
It feels like it's the end of the first Fallout where you're talking to...
Kind of a little bit in some ways. He will release everyone. Obviously, this is the best ending. He will release everyone to the land of the living, which means we're back in the present day as the portal was never open.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Al is there. We get out of the city the way Scintilla told us about way back when.
Right.
Karen, or Sharon, is still beside the river with a shot of glowing eyes at this point. She is, in fact, Karen. I keep saying Karen and Charon, and you all know who I'm talking about.
It's Charon,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I always think of it as Charon.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
It's hard for me to do Karen and then Charon and make it sound dissimilar enough.
Yeah.
So, but she is the ferryman, and she said that both Al and us originally died when murdered by robbers.
Oh. Oh, that's so sad.
1 year later, we are invited to a museum exhibit by Al. The city itself has started to be excavated.
Oh, wow.
But more interestingly, everyone who are statues in the present day, when we first went through, are alive again.
Wow.
They are adapting to modern life as best they can. Karen is now in charge of the underworld, and Pluto's whereabouts are unknown.
Interesting. Wow, I really like this. This is so cool.
Now, there are a couple alternate endings as well. You can just... basically, they all involve breaking the time loop.
Yeah.
One is you can just kill Sentius.
Yeah, because then the loop's done and over with.
If you kill Sentius, you just pop right back because the loop breaks.
But you don't get any of the explanation.
You get nothing. You can actually kill him during the first discussion with him. Like, after you first talk to him, you can just shoot him if you're the soldier and you have a gun already.
Wow. So if you're gonna speed run through it, that's what you do.
If you kill Sentius in that way,
yeah,
you don't know. You can't get out of the city. You're stuck there with Al
forever,
and you die there.
Oh, because you come back to life,
right?
Even though you were murdered by robbers previously.
No, you come back to life, and I don't know that one actually.
Ha ha!
I didn't look into the alternate endings beyond
Death loop.
What they... That's a different game.
You've been looped.
You've been Drachmud. So that's from our Skies of Arcadia series.
Live stream. But anyway, you've been looped.
Okay,
sir.
I didn't look into the alternate endings beyond the bare necessity of what they are.
No, because what you're describing to me is limbo. What you're describing, because there's not even. It's just you and Al being like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then you don't even know you're dead.
Yeah. So there's the other two endings involve you having Scintilla kill her father.
Yeah.
And then, depending on how you do things, you can have just her or other people manage to get out of the city.
Yeah.
Through the way that she knew. Basically, getting out of the underworld, I think, is getting back to life in a way that's not normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the ending of The Forgotten City. It is also a very good-looking game, I might say.
Yeah.
This
very cool.
This is Unreal Engine 4.
Oh,
So,
very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good looking game. Definitely worth a play. Very steeped in mythology. Not 100% accurate mythology, though.
Well, they kind of had to bend and break it for it to
Yes.
work for their game, and I'm more than okay with that. I love a good I love a good reinterpretation of an old story. Speaking of which, I am totally steeped in the current webcomic called Lore Olympus, which reminded me of the River Styx, which is the only reason why I was able to recall it so clearly. Because it is referenced several times in the plot. It's basically the retelling of the story of Hades and Persephone.
Yes.
Which it's very sweet, it's very cute, and if you just want something lovey-dovey, funny, and also colorful, it's great to read. It's probably the most popular webcomic on Webtoon, and they have volumes. Anyway.
Which is probably where I can get Pluto keeping Proserpina.
Yes.
Like in suspended animation. It's kind of like playing on that whole thing.
Yes, yeah. It's like they're playing on the 3 pomegranate seeds.
Now, it works for Greek and Roman. It doesn't work 100% for Egyptian. It doesn't work 100% for Sumerian, but, they all have a god and goddess or whatever of death and the underworld and everything. So they all kind of work in that weird way.
Considering that, all across human history, as much as there's always been queer people throughout history, there's always been a majority of heterosexual couples who continue the human race, right?
Yeah.
So those definitely, and considering the idea of giving and sustaining life, those are definitely going to always be represented one way or another, including, any god of much power, including the god of death, having a partner. I mean, it's true in almost all polytheistic cultures that have a death god of some sort. But I'm also not a scholar, so feel free to @ me on Twitter if I totally am speaking out of turn on that one. So, but this is fascinating. I thought you said it was a Skyrim mod, and I went one direction in my head, and you totally.
So in the original Skyrim mod, it's not the Golden Rule; it's the Dwarven Rule, and they're turned to stone.
Aha.
And there's a bunch of other little the mod is not as well fleshed out and not as intricate and everything, which you'd expect. It's a mod.
So it sounds like that the original creator, he was playing with this idea of the flawed logic of gods affecting men for millennia, and it's a really interesting take on that idea. I really like it. Wow. So, this is one of those games. I'm glad you spoiled it for me, because I feel like I never would have been able to enjoy it if I didn't know what the ending was going to be.
Really?
But I'm weird like that. It's not. A lot of people love this discovery of it. I know you do. I know that's a lot of the games that you like to play.
Yeah.
And for me, I kind of like knowing the destination sometimes, with video games in particular.
So,
that's fair. Yeah. But
I think that's a good place to wrap it, though.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to be playing at least the first hour or so this following Thursday.
So it'll probably overlap a lot with my first hour.
Yeah.
In fact, I think your first hour of Control was the exact as my first hour for the most part.
Yeah.
So maybe I have to rethink this whole blind series on my end. Maybe do longer ones. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, happy to see you there. And then if you want to catch us and see if anybody else gets Drachma'd on our Skies of Arcadia live stream, that's the alternate Thursdays. And those are on YouTube. And you can watch all of our old stuff on YouTube if you missed a live stream and you want to see how I reacted to it, see if I screamed at something. Yeah, because there were some surprising moments here or there.
In Control, yeah.
Then please feel free to check that out. Otherwise, thanks for joining us.
Yep. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.